Hello, today I am going to teach you how to take a blood pressure manually. Part of taking a blood pressure accurately is knowing the correct technique. Um, First of all, when you're going to take a blood pressure, you're going to need the correct equipment. You're going to need a stethoscope. Also, you're going to need a blood pressure cuff with a sphygmometer on it to measure the blood pressure. It's essential when you're taking a blood pressure that you know that the cuff is the correct size. So when you take a blood pressure cuff, you need to measure it to the arm to make sure that the arm is at least 80%. You need to have at least 80% of the bladder of the cuff to be able to go around the arm. Okay? If it's too small, you are going to get higher readings. And if it's too large, you'll also get a very low reading, so it won't be accurate. So it is important that you have the correct blood pressure cuff to get an accurate reading. Most cuffs do have the size on it. As you see here, this is a large cuff. They do have PD cuffs for a pediatric person, and then they have extra large cuffs for adults who have bigger arms or who are obese. First of all, you would want to measure your cuff to the arm. And then your patient should be sitting down with their arm opened and flexed. But my patient is going to need to stand up so that we can see her on the camera. First, when you're putting the blood pressure cuff around the arm, you are going to want to make sure there's always a mark on it here that says artery. You want that to go over the brachial. You want it to go over the brachial pulse. So you can measure this artery mark to where the artery is, and you always want to have the cuff over the top part of the arm, over the antecubital space, because you need room on the antecubital space to be able to check for a brachial pulse. To make sure that when you check the brachial pulse and you find it, which is usually on the inner arm, on the side of the thumb, you're going to check for the brachial pulse. This is where you're going to want to place your stethoscope. So you could hear the blood pressure. When you put on your stethoscope, you always want to look at it. Some people tend to put it on the wrong way. Your blood pressure, your stethoscope should be turned in so that it goes into your ear canal. So when you check for your brachial pulse, you're going to check with your 2 fingers. Once you find your brachial pulse, you can place your stethoscope over your brachial pulse. Then, at the same time, simultaneously, you're going to need to hold the stethoscope with your non-dominant hand because you're going to need to hold the sphygmometer. And you always want to have the sphygmometer where you'll be able to see it. You're going to pump up the sphygmometer to 180, which is rather tight. And then you're going to turn this to the left and let it go. You are going to listen for the first cortical sound. You're going to hear boop, 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 boop. You always need to pay attention to the first sound, which would be your systolic blood pressure, and you're going to listen for the last boop, 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 and that's going to be your diastolic blood pressure. Once you do that, you need to record it. You're also going to record what arm you use because that's an important aspect. For say if the patient's blood pressure is too high, sometimes you want to go ahead and check the other arm. If you need to recheck a blood pressure for some reason, then you need to go ahead and wait 1 to 2 minutes in between to make sure the arteries go back to normal before you go ahead and pump up the blood pressure cuff again. If the blood pressure reading is over 180, diastolic over 120, then you are going to need to notify a prescriber immediately. Let a doctor know because, as you know, high blood pressure is a silent killer, and overall having a high blood pressure like that, you're at high risk for stroke and heart attack. This is my short video of teaching you how to take a blood pressure manually. Thank you very much.